So, hello everyone again. Now I'm in my wonderful room here at Mishmish Wood house, and yes, it will be the last night on this wonderful bed here. As you can see, I will show you a bit of the room, and yes, now we will continue on reading 1984 by George Orwell. So we're already at chapter 8. I hope you were here in the previous lives. I put some more nail polish, and while it's drying, I will continue on reading for you. Maybe until dinner. Maybe I will practice a bit on the guitar. So let's start. Okay. So, chapter 8. From somewhere at the bottom of passage, the smell of roasting coffee, real coffee, not victory coffee, came floating out into the street. Winston paused involuntarily. For perhaps 2 seconds, he was back in the half-forgotten world of his childhood. Then a door banged, seeming to cut off the smell as abruptly as though it had been a sound. It's pretty hard. It's not really good lights, and it's okay, but it's better. Some more lights for reading. It's still good. He had walked several kilometers over pavements, and his very coarse ulcer was throbbing. This was the second time in 3 weeks that he had missed an evening at the community center. A rash act, since you could be certain that the number of your attendances at the center was carefully checked. In principle, a party member had no spare time and was never alone except in bed. It was assumed that when he was not working, eating, or sleeping, he would be taking part in some kind of communal recreation, to do anything that suggested a taste for solitude. Even to go for a walk by yourself was always slightly dangerous. There was a word for it in Newspeak, own life. It was called, meaning individualism and eccentricity. But this evening, as he came out of the ministry, the balminess of the April air had tempted him. The sky was a warmer blue than he had seen in that year, and suddenly the long, noisy evening at the center, the boring, exhausting games, the lectures, the creaking camaraderie oiled by gin had seemed intolerable. On impulse, he had turned away from the bus stop and wandered off into the labyrinth of London, First south, then east, then north again, losing himself among unknown streets and hardly bothering in which direction he was going. If there is hope, he had written in the diary, it lies in the prose. The words kept coming back to him, statement of a mystical truth and a palpable absurdity. Absurd. He was somewhere in the vague brown colored slums to the north and east of what had once been St. Pancras Station. He was walking up a cobbled street of little two story houses with battered doorways which gave straight on the pavement and which were somehow curiously suggestive of rat holes. There were puddles of filthy water here and there among the cobbles, in and out of the dark doorways and down narrow alleyways. No, the alleyways, that branched off on either side. People swarmed in astonishing numbers. Girls in full bloom with crudely lipsticked mouths, and youths who chased the girls, and swollen, waddling women who showed you what the girls would be like in 10 years' time, and old bent creatures shuffling along on splayed feet, and ragged, barefooted children who played in the puddles and then scattered at angry yells from their mothers. Perhaps a quarter of the windows in the street were broken and boarded up. Most of the people paid no attention to Winston. A few eyed him with a sort of guarded curiosity. Two monstrous women with brick red forearms folded across their aprons were talking outside a doorway. Winston caught scraps of conversation as he approached. Yes, I say to her. That's all very well, I says. But if you'd of been in my place, you'd of done the same as what I done. It it's easy to criticize, I says, but you ain't got the same problems as what I got. Ah, said the other, that's just it. What is jest with Jest? That's just it. That's just where it is. The strident voices stopped abruptly. The women studied him in hostile silence as he went past. But it was not hostility exactly, merely a kind of wariness, a momentary stiffening as at the passing of some unfamiliar animal. It's not good to do this, right? The blue overalls of the party could not be a common sight in a street like this. Indeed, it was unwise to be seen in such places, unless you had definite business there. The patrols might stop you if you happen to run into them. May I see your papers, comrade? What are you doing here? What time did you leave work? Is this your usual way home? And so on and so forth. Not that there was any rule against walking home by an unusual route, but it was enough to draw attention to you if the thought police heard about it. Suddenly, the whole street was in commotion. There were yells of warning from all sides. People were shooting into the doorways like rabbits. A young woman leaped out a doorway a little ahead of Winston, grabbed up a tiny child playing in the puddle, whipped her apron round it, and leaped back again, all in one movement. At the same instant, a man in a concertina-like black suit, who had emerged from a side alley, ran towards Winston, e- pointing excitedly to the sky. "Steamer!" he yelled. "Look out! Governor! Bang over! Lay down quick!" Streamer was Streamer was a nickname which, for some reason, the proles applied to rocket bombs. Winston promptly flung himself on his face. The proles were nearly always right when they gave you a warning of this kind. They seemed to possess some kind of instinct which told them several seconds in advance when a rocket was coming, although the rocket supposedly traveled faster than sound. Winston clasped his forearms above his head. There was a roar that seemed to make the pavement heave, Heave. Um, and a shower of light objects patterned onto his back. When he stood up, he found that he was covered with fragments of glass from the nearest window. He walked on. The bomb had demolished a group of houses 200 meters up the streets. A black plume of smoke hung in the sky, and below it a cloud of plaster dust in which a crowd was already forming around the ruins. There was a little pile of plaster lying on the pavement ahead of him, and in the middle of it he could see a bright red streak. When he got up to it, he saw that it was a human hand, severed at the wrist. Apart from the bloody stump, the hand was so completely whitened as to resemble a plaster cast. He kicked the thing into the gutter and then, to avoid the crowd, turned down a side street and to the right. Within 3 or 4 minutes, he was out of the area which the bomb had affected, and the sordid, swarming life of the street was going on as though nothing had happened. It was nearly 20 hours, and the drinking shops, which the pros frequented, pubs, they called pubs, they called them, were choked with customers. From their grimy swing doors, endlessly opening and shutting, there came forth a smell of urine, sawdust, and sour beer. In an angle formed by a projecting house front, three men were standing very close together. The middle one, the middle one of them holding a folded up newspaper, which the other two were studying over his shoulder. Even before he was near enough to make out the expression of on their faces, Winston could see absorption in every line of their bodies. It was obviously some serious piece of news that they were reading. He was a few paces. Wait. He was a few paces away from them when suddenly the group broke up and two of the men were in violent alter, al- altercation. For a moment, they seemed almost on the point of blows. Can't you bleeding well listen? Can't you bleeding well listen to what I say? I tell you, no number ending in 7 ain't one for over 14 months. Yes, it does. Then, no, it is not. Back home, I got the whole lot of for over 2 years wrote down on a piece of paper. I take 'em down regular as the clock. And I'll let you know, and I'll tell you, no number ending in 7. Yes, 7 is 1. I could pretty near tell you the bleeding number. 407. It ended in. It were in February, second week in February. February, your grandmother. I got it all down in black and white. And I tell you, no number. Oh, pack it in, said the third man. They were talking about the lottery. Winston looked back when he had gone 30 meters. They were still arguing with vivid, passionate faces. The lottery, with its weekly payout of enormous prizes, was the one public event to which the proles paid serious attention. It was probable that there were some millions of proles for whom the lottery was the principal, if not the only reason for remaining alive. It was their delight, their folly, their anodyne, their intellectual stimulant. Where the lottery was concerned, even people who could barely read and write seemed capable to intricate calculations and staggering feats of memory. There was a whole tribe of men who made a living simply by selling systems, forecasts, and lucky amulets. Winston had nothing to do with the running of the lottery, which was managed by the Ministry of Plenty But he was aware, indeed everyone in the party was aware, that the prizes were largely imaginary. Only small sums were actually paid out, the winners of the big prizes being not existent persons. In the absence of any real intercommunication between one part of Oceania and another, this was not difficult to arrange. But if there was hope, it lay in the prose. You had to cling on to that. When you put it in words, it sounded reasonable. It was when you looked at the human beings passing you on the pavement that it became an act of faith. The street into which he had turned ran downhill. He had a feeling that he had been in this neighborhood before, and that there was a main thoroughfare not far away. From somewhere ahead there came a din of shouting voices. The street took a sharp turn and then ended in a flight of steps which led down into a sunken alley where few stallkeepers were selling tired-looking vegetables. At this moment, Winston remembered where he was. The alley led out into the main street and down the next turning. Not 5 minutes away, not 5 minutes away was the junk shop where he had bought the blank book which was now his diary. And in a small stationer's shop not far away, he had bought his penholder and his bottle of ink. He paused for a moment at the top of the steps. On the opposite side, on the alley, there was a dingy little pub whose windows appeared to be frosted over, but in reality were merely coated with dust. A very old man, bent but active, with white mustaches that bristled forward like those of a prawn, pushed open the swing door and went in. As Winston stood watching, it occurred to him that the old man, who must be 80 at the least, had already been middle-aged when the revolution happened. He and few others like him were the last links that now existed with the vanished world of capitalism. In the party itself, there were not many people left whose ideas had been formed before the revolution. The older generation had mostly been wiped out in the great purges of the 50s and 60s, and the few who survived had long ago been terrified into complete intellectual surrender. If there was anyone still alive who could give you a truthful account of conditions in the early part of the century, it could only be a prole. Suddenly, the passage from the history book that he had copied into his diary came back into Winston's mind, and the lunatic impulse took hold of him. He would go into the pub, he would scrap a acquaintance, acquaintance, okay, with that old man and question him. He would say to him, "Tell me about your life when you were a boy. What was it like in those days? Were things better than they are now? Or were they worse?" Hurriedly, hurriedly, lest he should have time to become frightened, he descended the steps and crossed the narrow street. It was madness, of course. As usual, there was no definite rule against stalking the two proles and frequenting their pubs, but it was far too unusual at action. Um, but it was far too unusual an action to pass unnoticed. If the patrols appeared, he might plead an attack of faintness, faintness, but it was not likely that they would believe him. He pushed open the door, and a hideout's cheesy smell of sour beer hit him in the face. As he entered, the din of voices dropped to about half its volume. And I want to drink some water. So come with me to take it. Okay. Ta-da! So continue. Very comfortable bed. I like it. At first it was a bit hard for me. I like it softer, but it's very good. I got used to it. It's very fast. Very good mattress. Okay. So let's continue. You want to stay here? Okay. So where were I? I think like this is more comfortable to read. Okay. So about half its volume. Okay. Behind his back, he could feel everyone eyeing his blue overalls. A game of darts, which was going on at the other end of the room, interrupted itself for perhaps as much as 30 seconds. The old man whom he had followed was standing at the bar, having some kind of altercation with the barman, a large, stout, hook-nosed young man with enormous forearms, and knots of others standing round with glasses in their hands were watching the scene. "I urged you civil enough, didn't I?" said the old man, straightening his shoulders pugnaciously. "You telling me you ain't got a pint mug in the old bleeding boozer? And what in hell's name is a pint?" said the barman, leaning forward with the tips of his fingers on the counter. Archetim calls himself a barman and don't know what a pint is. Why a pint's the half of a quart, and there's 4 quarts of to the gallon. I have to teach you the ABC next. Never heard of 'em, said the barman shortly. Liter and half liter, that's all we serve. There's a pint. Pint. Yes, it's like 400 milliliters, right? Um, Liter and half liters, that's all we serve. There's the glasses on the shelf in front of you. I likes a pint, persisted the old man. You could have drawed me off a pint easy enough. We didn't have these bleeding liters when I was a young man. When you were a young man, we were all living in the treetops, said the barman, with a glance at the other customers. There was a shout of laughter, and the uneasiness caused by Winston's entry seemed to disappear. The old man's white stubbled face had flushed pink. He turned away, muttering to himself, and bumped into Winston. Winston caught him gently by the arm. May I offer you a drink? He said. You're gents, said the other, strengthening his shoulders again. He appeared not to have noticed Winston's blue overalls. Pint, he added aggressively to the barman. Pint or wallop. A pint of wallop. The barman swished 2 half liters of dark brown beer into thick glasses, which he had rinsed in a bucket under the counter. Beer was the only drink you could get in prole pubs. The proles were supposed not to drink gin, though in practice they could get hold of it easily enough. The game of darts was in full swing again, and the knot of men at the bar had begun talking about lottery tickets. Winston's presence was forgotten for a moment. There was a deal table under the window where he and the old man could talk without fear of being overheard. It was horribly dangerous, but at any rate there was no telescreen in the room, a point he had made sure of as soon as he came in. Okay, a point he had made sure of as soon as he came in. Okay. He could draw me off a pint, grumbled the old man as he settled down behind the glass. A half-liter ain't enough. It don't satisfy, and the whole liter too much. It starts my bladder running, let alone the price. You must have seen great changes since you were a young man, said Winston tentatively. 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 The old man's pale blue eyes moved from the darts board to the bar and from the bar to the door of the gents, as though it were in the barroom that he expected the changes to have occurred. The beer was better, he said finally, and cheaper. When I was a young man, mild beer wallop, we used to call it, was a fourpence a pint. That was before the war, of course. Which war was it? Said Winston. It's all wars, said the old man vaguely. He took up his glass and his shoulders strengthened again. Eras wishing you the very best of health. In his lean throat, the sharp-pointed Adam's apple made a surprisingly rapid up and down movement. And the beer vanished. Winston Winston went to the bar and came back with 2 more half-liters. The old man appeared to have forgotten his prejudice against drinking a full liter. You are very much older than I am, said Winston. You must have been a grown man before I was born. You can remember what it was like in the old days before the revolution. People of my age don't really know anything about those times. We can only read about them in books, and what it says in the books may not be true. I should like your opinion on that. The history books say that life before the revolution was completely different from what it is now. There was the most terrible oppression, injustice, poverty worse than anything we can imagine. Here in London, the great mass of the people never had enough to eat from birth to death. Half of them hadn't even boots on their feet. They worked 12 hours a day. They left school at 9. They slept 10 in a room. And at the same time, there were very few people, only a few thousands, the capitalists. They were called who were rich and powerful. The capitalists, they were called, who were rich and powerful. They owned everything that there was to own. They lived in great, gorgeous houses with 30 servants. They rode about in motor cars and 4-horse carriages and drank champagne. They wore top hats. The old man brightened suddenly. Top hats, he said. Funny you should mention them. The same thing come into my head only yesterday. I don't know why. I was just thinking I ain't seen a top hat in years. Gone right out, they have. The last time I wore one was at my sister-in-law's funeral. And that was, well, I couldn't give you the date, but it must have been 50 years ago. Of course, it was only aired from the occasion. You understand. How's my accent? It isn't very important about the top hats, said Winston patiently. The point is, these capitalists, they and a few lawyers and priests and so forth who lived on them were the lords of the earth. Everything existed for their benefit. You, the ordinary people, the workers, were their slaves. They could do what they liked with you. They could ship you off to Canada like cattle. They could sleep with your daughters if they chose. They could order you to be flogged with something called a cat o' nine tails. You had to take your cap off when you passed them. Every capitalist went about with a gang of lackeys who the old man brightened again. Lackeys, he said. Now there's a word I ain't heard since ever so long. Lackeys. That regular takes me back. That does. I recollect donkeys years ago. I used to sometimes go to Yacht Park of a Sunday afternoon to hear the blocks making speeches. Salvation Army, Roman Catholics, Jews, Indians, all sorts there was. And there was one bloke, well, I couldn't give its name, but a real powerful speaker it was. It didn't have give a damn. Lackeys, it says, lackeys of the bourgeois, bourgeoisie, flackies of the ruling class, parasites, that was another of them, and Jans, it definitely called them Jans. Of course, it was referring to the Labour Party, you understand. Winston had the feeling that they were talking at cross purposes. What I really wanted to know was this, he said. Do you feel that you have more freedom now than you had in those days? Are you treated more like a human being? In the old days, the rich people, the people at the top, the House of Lords, put in the old man reminiscently. The House of Lords, if you like. What I'm asking is, were these people able to treat you as an inferior simply because they were rich and you were poor? Is it a fact, for instance, that you had to call them sir and take off your cap when you passed them? The old man appeared to think deeply. He drank off about a quarter of his beer before answering. Yes, he said, they liked you to touch your cap to them. It showed respect, like. I didn't agree with it myself, but I done it often enough. Had to, as you might say. And was it usual? I'm only quoting that I've read in history books. Was it usual for these people and their servants to push you off the pavement into the gutter? One of them pushed me once, said the old man. I recollect it as if it was yesterday. It was boat race night, terribly rowdy. They used to get on boat race night, and I bumps into a young bloke of Shaftesbury Avenue. It's the name of the place. Quite a gent. He was dress shirt top hat, black overcoat. It was kind of zigzagging across the pavement, and I bumped into him accidental like. He says, why can't you look where you're going? He says, I say, "You think you've bought the bleeding pavement?" he says. "I've twisted your bloody head off if you get fresh with me." I says, "You're drunk. I'll give you in charge in half a minute," I says. And if you believe me, he puts his hand on my chest and gives me a shove as pretty near sent me under the wheels of a bus. Well, I was young in them days, and I was going to have fetched him one only. A sense of helplessness took hold of Winston. The old man's memory was nothing but a rubbish heap of details. One could question him all day without getting any real information. The party histories might still be true after a fashion. They might even be completely true. He made a last attempt. "Perhaps I have not made myself clear," he said. "What I'm trying to say is this. You have been alive you have been alive a very long time. You lived half your life before the revolution. In 1925, for instance, you were already grown up. Would you say, from what you can remember, that life in 1925 was better than it is now, or worse? If you could choose, would you prefer to live then or now?" The old man looked meditatively at the darts board. He finished up his beer more slowly than before. When he spoke, it was with a tolerant, philosophical air, as though the beer had mellowed him. "I know." Oh, it's a long chapter. Okay, wow. It's the end of part one. Okay, but there is a lot. So maybe I will. Okay, you know what? I'm in page 98. I will finish at page 100, so it will be good. Round. Okay. Just a slide of water, sip of water before. Okay. "I know what you expect me to say," he said. "You expect me to say as I'd sooner be young again. Most people said they'd sooner be young if you asked them. You got your health and strength when you're young. When you get to my time of life, you ain't never well. I suffer something wicked from my feet, and my bladder's just terrible. 6 and 7 times a night it has me out of bed. On the other hand, there's great advantages in being an old man. You ain't got the same worries, no truck with women, and that's a great thing. I ain't had a woman for near on 30 years, if you'd credit it, nor wanted to. What's more," Winston sat back against the window sill. It was no use going on. He was about to buy some more beer when the old man suddenly got up and shuffled rapidly into the stinking urinal at the side of the room. The extra half-liter was already working on him. Winston sat for a minute or two, gazing at his empty glass, and hardly noticed when his feet carried him out into the street again. Within 20 years at the most, he reflected the huge and simple question: was life better before the revolution than it is now? Would have ceased once and for all to be answerable? But in effect, it was. Sorry, it's disturbing me. I'll be right back. Okay, so um, so where I Winston sat back against the window sill. It was no use going on. He was out to buy some more beer, and the old man suddenly got up and shuffled rapidly into the stinking urinal at the side of the room. The extra half liter was already working on him. Winston sat for a minute or two, gazing at his empty glass, and hardly noticed when his feet carried him out into the street again. Within 20 years at the most, he reflected the huge and simple question: was life, I read it a few times, was life before the revolution, um, was life better before the revolution than it is now? Would have ceased once and for all to be answerable. But in effect, it was unanswerable even now, since the few scattered survivors from the ancient world were incapable of comparing one age with another. They remembered a million useless things: a quarrel with a workmate, a hunt for a lost bicycle pump, the expression on a long dead sister's face, the swirls of dust on a windy morning 70 years ago. But all the relevant facts were outside the range of their vision. They were like the ants, which can see small objects but not large ones. And when memory failed and written records were falsified, when that happened, the claim of the party to have improved the conditions of human life had got to be accepted, because there did not exist, and never again could exist, any standard against which it could be tested. As this moment, his train of thought stopped abruptly. Abruptly, he halted and looked up. He was in a narrow street with a few. Wait. Oh, sit like this again. This is better. Sorry, I didn't read your comments yet. I think let's put it like this, like before. Okay. So where I okay. He halted and looked up. He was in a narrow street with a few dark little shops, in, interspersed among dwelling houses. Immediately above his head there hung three discolored metal balls which looked as if they had once been gilded. He seemed to know the place. Of course, he was standing outside the junk shop where he had bought the diary. A twinge of fear went through him. It had been sufficiently rash act to buy the book in the beginning, and he had sworn never to come near the place again. And yet, the instant that he allowed his thoughts to wander, his feet had brought him back here of their own accord. It was precisely against suicidal impulses of this kind that he had hoped to guard himself by opening the diary. At the same time, he noticed that although it was nearly 21 hours, the shop was still open, with the feeling that he would be less conspicuous, with the feeling that he would be less conspicuous inside than hanging about on the pavement. He stepped through the doorway. If questioned, he could possibly plausibly say that he was trying to buy razor blades. The proprietor had just lighted a hanging oil lamp, which gave off an unclean but friendly smell. He was a man of perhaps 60, frail and bald, with a long, benevolent nose, and mild eyes distorted by thick spectacles. His hair was almost white, but his eyebrows were bushy and still black. His spectacles, his gentle, fussy movements, and the fact that he was wearing an aged jacket of black velvet gave him vague air of intellectuality, as though he had been some kind of literary man or perhaps a musician. His voice was soft, as though faded, and his accent less debased than that of the majority of proles. "I recognized you on the pavement," he said immediately. "You're the gentleman that bought the young lady's keepsake album. That was a beautiful bit of paper, that was. Cream laid it used to be called. There's been no paper like that made for, oh, I dare say 50 years. He peered at Winston over the top of his spectacles. "Is there anything special I can do for you? Or did you just want to look around?" And it's very curious. You will see it next time. We arrived to 100. So, okay, this is my bookmark. And I started writing here some words in Arabic if you want to learn. I want to make a whole lesson of Arabic, but this is the first. So, if you want to say good morning, you can say Sabah el Khir. If you want to extend it, you can say Sabah el Khir, Sabah el Nur. Nur, it's like light. And it's Masa el Khir, it's good evening. And if you tell them Masa el Khir, they can tell you back Masa el Nur, like have an evening full of light. Yeah, and yes is Naam. So next time you will have more words. And now let's see what you wrote here. Wow, you wrote a lot. Okay, hi. Hi, honey. How are you doing? Ciao, Bella. Only glory. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, you are yummy. Mm-mm. You have any tattoos? No, actually, I don't. I don't have any tattoos. Though I love tattoos. Every time I see beautiful tattoos on people, I just stare at it, like I ask them if I can look more closely. And sometimes I take pictures of tattoos and make them empty slogans. You can see, maybe you cannot see, it was on my stories on Instagram. But maybe I will do some, I will edit some slogans together, make some video, and I will upload it to YouTube. Good idea. Okay, so do you have tattoos? If you are here already, still. Um, Wonder Woman. Wow, thank you for your compliment. Seems, I don't know, beautiful. Thank you very much. Hello, hello, hello. What are we reading? We're reading 1984 by George Orwell. Mm-mm-mm. What? I don't understand. And to stop there, this reading, like I did like this accent of an old man with an old accent, southern accent. I don't know. It's my childhood dream to be an actress. Let me take off the actress within me outside. If you want to see some more acting of me, you can go to the MD Talks playlist. You can see some funny videos that I'm acting like I take drugs, and then someone is telling me, no, it's better to do MD. Just do MD. And it was like on 20 drugs or something. And it was in the pop-up museum. Yes. Everyone around were with masks, and we were the only one without. Of course, I never wore a mask on my face because it's my choice how to breathe. I'm a free human being, and this is the main reason I've been doing it for years, to encourage you to find the courage inside of you to be able to breathe the way you want, no matter who will tell you otherwise. It's your choice. You can choose to put the mask or not to put the mask. No one can tell you what to do with your face. This is very important to know. So do your MD. So what else? In Greece? No, I'm in Egypt. Hello, hello. How are you? Yes, thank you. This is, I think, in German. Das erste Mal, dass ich dich English spreche. Yuppie. I don't understand. What is 10th like for me? Thank you very much. Thank you, Kaya. Ravit and fairy tales made me sleepy. Okay. So put it high. What your color of your toenails? My toenails? What is toenails? Like my feet? Toe, like toe with W. Toenails. You can guess. Maybe I will show you tomorrow. Yes. What else? My hair. What about my hair? Something happened here, right? I don't know. Okay. But yeah, it was with the heart. Thank you very much. You like my hair? This is like, it was like a month ago, but still, it's not my cut. In the last years, I cut my pony, but this is not my cut. It's by Scissors, Mickey from Scissors Hairdresser. So if you want more details, write me. What else? What else? I forgot. Okay, I'm reading 1984. Yes, it's in the headline of the video. Who is that? I'm confused. Okay. Velvet. I'm glad that you are, saying something about what I read. It means that you are listening. Velvet. Yes, Velvet. 100. Thank you very much. Beautiful. I am Arabic. Hello, Muhammad. Hello, hello. Can you? No, you are real girl or woman, real lady. Thank you very much. What else? What else? Masai El Noor. Yes, yes, yes. Mm, mm, mm. Mm. Book club waiting for page 101. Yes, you can subscribe with the bell and you'll get it maybe tomorrow even. We're at 100, yeah? Italian Chapella, clear. Your hair is beautiful. Oh, thank you. Okay, Ravit, how are you? I'm very good, thank you. Greetings from Turkey. Hello, Turkey. I want to travel in Turkey so much. I've heard a lot of beautiful things. I want to go to Istanbul. For a long time I follow you. Thank you very much. You are welcome to share also. Share it with people. Share it on Facebook. It's very important that people will dance, will stretch, will exercise, will work out, like move. And hear some things to make their lives better, to believe they can fly higher and higher without any substances. It's very important. So even, give it to children, to adult, to people from younger ages to older ages. Like MD is helpful for everyone. And you can do a daily stretching and workout with me. If you don't feel like dancing now, you can just stretch, It can be good for everyone. So just share it so it will reach to more people. And what else do we have? Hello, everyone. Greetings from a citizen of... What is this? Mesopotamia. What is Mesopotamia? I don't know. Hello, hello. Greetings to you. You resemble my math teacher at university. She looks a lot like you, is kind and always smiling. Greetings to you and your kind appearance and the baby. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, I don't have a baby yet, but maybe next year, in the next year's lives, there will be. Let's see. Hello, woman. How are you? Why are you streaming? I'm streaming to make people more happy, healthy, courageous, free, calm, and just to remind them to enjoy, even when it's painful, even when it's hard, and to do what they love, to love themselves, a lot of things. watching from the land of Videco, Philippines. Hello, Philippines. I want to show you something. Actually, I bought 2 of these, but one disappeared this month in a party. So I bought these 2 Fareos, and this is the other one was purple, my favorite color. And up, what is written here? El Nido, Palawan, Philippines. Yes, such a beautiful country. Wow. So I've been to a lot of places, and so beautiful world. I'm deaf. What? Did you ever taste cocaine? No, I did not. I never did cocaine. I never put anything in my nose. No powder, no Corona stick. Just my nose is clean. I don't put anything inside of it. What else? And I'm not sick. Maybe it's connected. I never get sick. Okay. And I also don't take pills and stuff and injections. And, what else? What do you think about Buddhism? Okay. I like it. I really feel connected to what they're saying. I need to learn more about it, so I will be able to give you a full answer. But from the headlines of the Buddhism, I felt connected. Maybe there are things that I don't. I need to search for it more. Maybe you can send me on Facebook, send me some material on Buddhism. I would love to read. Thank you. Yes, El Nido, Palawan. Yeah. I was there like a couple of weeks. It was amazing. There are also video clips from there, a lot of video clips. I was there almost 8 years ago. Yes, in January 2018. And there are MD video clips. It was right in the beginning. Actually, I opened this channel in the Philippines, in El Nido. The first time that I uploaded a video was in the Philippines. So you can watch all kinds of beautiful videos in the beaches there. Assalamu alaikum. So great. I'm so happy that you are with me. And while I was reading, and I don't know, you cannot see, but there is the beach right here, the sea. You want to come with me to see it? Maybe you will see it better in the light. But wait, we will take where did I put it? Here it is. So I will not get stuck. Oh, you cannot see anything now, right? Okay. But you can hear the waves. So I'm in the front. And here is my room. And yes. See? So because you cannot see anything, I will go back to the room and I will say goodbye. And I hope you subscribed with a bell, and that I will see you next time. You have also the Instagram and TikTok, ravit.md. You have the Facebook, the same name of YouTube, Ravit Levi Meditation Dance. And the YouTube is divided into genres and more under playlists. And And what? Also, she never snorted anything or put thing inside her nose. Snorted? Every few years, I put the toilet paper if I have a little bit. This is the only thing I put in my nose. Wait, don't go. Maybe I will come back later. I have here the guitar. Yes, and I will make you maybe. I practiced yesterday on some songs and I added new songs and I will sing to you and play it for you. No, I don't understand. And what? So, you're welcome to come to Sinai. I'm doing workshops here and I'm enjoying every second. So you can do the workshops here or online or workshops of personal development and self-healing through the meditation dance. I'm a psychologist and this is a method that I developed and you are welcome to join for all ages with all music genres. In Budapest. I've been a lot in Budapest this summer. My bag was stolen, unfortunately, but no, I'm not from Budapest. I'm from the world. I'm a free human being in a free world, and this is how I live my life. I do what I think is right and important, and I try to make people have more courage to do it as well. So until next time, see you.